So in this duality of subject and object, understand that one cannot exist without the other. The subject cannot know itself as a subject unless first identifying with objects. So the subject always has to know objects in order to understand itself as a subject. It needs to first identify objects in its environment in order to see that separation between subject and object. Once it sees that separation, it starts to come back to itself and asks the question, if there's the objects out there, then who is witnessing these objects? Who is experiencing these objects? Who is the one that's perceiving these objects? And that would of course be the subject. But then this requires a deep investigation into the nature of the subject. Because throughout the subject's life, at least most of the subject's life has always been identifying with objects in its environment. You are always distracted by what is out there. It's very seldom you will look within and ask yourself the question, who is it that is aware or experiences those objects out there? But then eventually a time comes when you truly feel that it's time to let go of objects and try to identify and understand the subject, which in this case is you or me. So in a sense, it's a journey. And part of the journey requires identifying with objects first, to understand that there is this duality that exists between the subject and the object. Imagine if there never was any objects, there was only the subject. How is it even possible to imagine such a universe? Would there even be a universe? Think deeply about this. If that duality of subject and object did not exist, then how does the subject identify itself in the absence of objects? One can identify and know itself as an aware being. But then what is there to do by just being, if there is no objects, if there is no universe? Remember, when I'm talking about objects, these objects have to exist in a universe. And the universe as a whole is an object. It's physical in that sense. But then notice that the subject is not within the universe, how can the subject be within the universe? Because the universe is essentially objective. The subject has to be independent of the universe. The subject has to be the witness of the universe. The subject has to perceive the universe. How does the subject perceive the universe within the universe itself? The subject would have to split itself off. It would have to separate itself and then experience the universe while still being independent of the universe. Just like the dream analogy, the dreamer is in bed asleep, having the dream. The dreamer, the dream environment. But that dream comes from the dreamer. There cannot be a dream without the dreamer. Do you see what I'm saying? So the dreamer has to be present to create the dream, to experience the dream. But in order to experience the dream object and the objects within the dreamer would have to create within its own awareness the dream environment, and then localize a part of its own awareness within the dream in order to experience the dream story and the dreamscape. Without the dream, there's only the dreamer, but actually there's no dreamer without a dream. You need a dream to have a dreamer. So without the dream, there's only ever beingness. And that beingness is in a state of deep sleep. And then the dream takes place, and now you have a dreamer and you have a dreamer and the dream. You now have a duality of subject and object. But then the dream ends, the object and the subject become one, the duality collapses, and you just have beingness.